Tonneau shape cases are not proprietary to Richard Mille, and the thinking comes from the fact that it's a design language incorporated in all of their models. Well, not all, most of them. And that's why you might be thinking that, yeah, you know, this is a Richard Mille. From a glance, it's subliminally suggested that this may be a Richard Mille just because of that case, incorporating it with rubber or fabric or whatever the strap material is, you think Richard Mille. And that's fair, valid point. But the quick highlight here is that Richard Mille does not own that tonneau shape case. They don't own that. This is something that Cartier had used, Frank Muller had used in their Vanguards, Patek used it in the past, so this is not something that is proprietary to Richard Mille. And anyone and any brand can leverage the same exact, even Coro, the lab ones, but that looked a bit plasticky, so, you know, it was questionable. The other part as well is the barrier to entry with Richard Mille, right? Because it's just ridiculous. When you think about what you can get and what can you achieve with all that budget, there's a lot of options. You know, I always have these weird starts in my video, so let's rewind everything once again and say this. The concept of blackout watches is a trend that had evoked in the 1970s when watchmakers didn't want to accept it. They didn't want to give it to you. They said, take what we come up with. They said a watch should be in precious metal or stainless steel, and that's it. And it is classic in that sense, 100%. This had changed now. What drives the watch industry is what people want, is what a fashion designer by the name of Karl Lagerfeld, I don't know if I'm butchering his last name or not, that was spotted in the 1970s wearing an Audemars Piguet 5402 that appeared to have some customization in it, and it was also done in black. And ever since then, this concept of blacking out watches had become more popular and it picked up. And today, this is a language used by a lot of influencers, a lot of celebrities, evolved to cover the case, the strap, the clasp, everything in the watch. In fact, some indices and hour markers as well, as we've seen with some other brands, right? There's one brand I don't want to mention. This is what you know blackout watches for. They have a history experimenting for a very, very long time with PVDs and DLCs and what's not, and the next gen technology that had led them to put out use that could manipulate cases in forged carbon. And this case also looms, by the way. You know what I mean? One of the earlier companies that had actually done that, right? So this time they came around and said, let's take this design language a little bit further. Let's leverage new technology for it this time, such as with this XP1 that is in forged carbon. This thing really weighs on the wrist, like it genuinely does. Let's give them the same quality they would get from that other brand, right? Let's make sure that it's in forged carbon. Let's make sure there is a tourbillon in it, and let's make sure you get the amazing butterfly clasp at the back as well. Can you go like that? You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was a big thing for Richard Mille. I didn't realize at the time that, you know, any company could really do that. The buckle is in forged carbon. It says Blackout Watches here. I don't know if you can see it clearly or not. And the clasp is a butterfly clasp, just like the ones you get on the RMs. Maybe even a little bit better. Like putting it on the wrist, it's honestly something that feels very, very stylish, very expensive. To be honest, it's really cool. But I also like slim cases. So if I had an opinion on the case thickness, I like ultra thin watches. So if we are to refine this case to something like what you see in the 6701, that'd be a buy for me with no shadow of a doubt. But this case might resonate with someone else, right? That's a possibility, because if you're into the RM30s and what's not, yeah, this is just right. And it's in forged carbon as well, that looms, which is, you know, I'm a sucker for loom like that. The quality screams, and when you bring the ticking, just hear this. Do you hear that? You know, it sounds right. Like, it sounds really good. Those are also not easily available, so customization is something that they do by DNA, but this is their own, very own release actually. They're associated with watchmakers. These watchmakers also come from other brands that I'm not able to disclose to you, but I guarantee you the techniques, experience, the eye, and mention to details are all seen on this watch. They've achieved the black finish with meticulous finishing techniques that adds depth and interest to the case. They've really done that, and they've done that very well. This is probably the first time where I talk about a brand that kind of looks or resembles another brand from a first glance, right? So, and I wouldn't do that if it's not something that interests me personally, right? So this is, by the way, not a sponsored video. This is not a paid video. I've reached out to them because I was interested, because I've seen the profiles. The pictures themselves looked a little bit better on Instagram. I said, guys, you know, I would like to review this watch. I would like to have a look at it. I would like to get hands-on with your XP1. I had a candid chat with the Blackout team, and I told them that if the watch doesn't live up to what it is, I'm not gonna do it. And they were confident. These guys said, no worries, whatever you want to say. And they were right, man. I'm glad I did this because this is quality. Slimming down the case a little bit, throw in a vulcanized strap. Fire! So let's get into some specs. While it might not be the absolute pinnacle in terms of its daily accuracy, Blackout Concept has gone the extra mile to modify the maximum possibilities of modification to give you precision, to give you a higher power reserve, to give you reliability in this movement. I've seen brands that had incorporated this movement and they failed to give you the look and feel. They failed to give you the reliability, and it wasn't good. These guys took the 384D tourbillon movement, put it in a very stylish case on forged carbons, right? And applied a lot of modifications to it. When you lay eyes on it, it is captivating. It's done in forged carbon, and how dare I say that the quality on it, man, is exactly the same. I feel like both companies go to the same manufacturer. Maybe I should put it next to a Richard Mille in forged carbon too, and let's draw the comparison there. Comparing the quality of the XP1 to other leading brands, it's hard to find any faults. Honestly, RM30 or whatever that comes in forged carbon, neck to neck, to tell you these are the differences, and that's why Richard Mille is better. But honestly, I've put on Richard Mille's before. Putting this one on, I could tell you, man, this makes me feel the same way. I think quality-wise, this is actually a tick, and I think this is even more interesting considering the price point. You might even tell me the future of Blackout watches is a concept that is dying, that no one wants to touch. You know, why do you want to DLC PVD coat your watch? This is not the case with this one. This is forged carbon, mind you. But let's say that your point is that this is a dying trend. Okay, fair enough. Maybe that's for you. However, you cannot deny that they have become part of the watch industry, right? So if the goal is to get them as part of the industry and seen not only as a concept, but as a first fresh novelty release, we've seen it with AP, we've seen it with Tudor. AP, I mean, took a big drift, right? So they're using blue ceramic and I don't know what else. And that may be a little bit different because I think the innovation itself comes from the layering of that black color, and it's not just creating several other colors in the same material, which is ceramic. This is in forged carbon. This is to me a tip ahead over it. What also differentiates Blackout Concepts is their association with distinguished watchmakers. It's a testament to their excellence. They're confident, they're exciting about what they're putting there. If you have any questions, don't ask them to me. You can ask them to Ethan and Tim directly. Their details are in the description down below. Their Instagram is also linked down below. Have a chat, right? So they're warm people, they're intimate people. They will give you the answers. They're not gonna push you to buy anything. They're just gonna answer your questions. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.